It's time for us to go ahead and talk about the iPhone 12 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 13 in 2022 and see which one is the better phone for you. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside, what I will definitely tell you is that both these phones are very, very different. You can see the iPhone 13 is a much smaller phone than the 12 Pro Max. Now, this phone came out back in 2020, which I personally think was a pretty good year for phones, and I think the 12 Pro Max was a pretty good phone overall. Now, on the outside, we have a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel. This is a massive display, and I will definitely tell you, if you're not comfortable using big phones, then you're really not going to have that great of a time with this. It's probably going to be a little shaky if I'm being honest. We still have the notch, which is still there on the 13. No ProMotion display, very high resolution display. And I mean, this is still a tremendous panel for sure. On the iPhone 13 that came out in 2021, this is the cheaper model of the iPhone 13s, which is nice. And this one is a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So it's smaller than the iPhone 12 Pro Max by quite a bit. And I think that's a good thing. You have a smaller display, which is good. Personally, I like having a smaller phone. It fits better in the hand, and if I'm using it with one hand, I can definitely use it. If you have big hands, then go for the 12 Pro Max, but otherwise, this thing is actually probably better for a lot of people out there. It also has a smaller notch than the iPhone 13 or the 12 Pro Max as well. In terms of thickness and thickness, it's kind of interesting. I said this before. It's almost like the same exact thing. There really isn't that big of a difference. Now, we do have different types of chassis on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a much more premium feeling than the iPhone 13. It's kind of like the stainless steel versus like this aluminum, whatever it is. And the buttons are almost the exact same place. Really not that big of a difference. And on the back, we have kind of similar setups, but not really. They both have camera setups on the back, which is really good. Dual camera setup on the iPhone 13. 12 Pro Max had a triple camera setup with a LiDAR sensor, which was really nice. Frosted glass back on the 12 Pro Max and a standard glass back on the iPhone 13. Is it a big difference? Honestly, it kind of is. I really do like this frosted glass back on these phones, and they feel and look so good. But the 13, it was the cheaper phone of that year, and this is the flagship of this year, or back in 2020, which is crazy. So I definitely do think the 12 Pro Max definitely feels a lot more premium. IP certification on both, MagSafe capability on back as well, and that kind of covers it up on the outside, 5G as well. Now, like I mentioned, with something like the 12 Pro Max, if this was the $1099 phone of 2020, this one was about the $799 phone of 2021, and this thing is probably being sold in the used market very soon for about the same price as the 12 Pro Max. So it's always crazy to see the differences. Now, in terms of future and longevity, I don't think there's going to be a phone that's like, oh, this one is going to last way longer, like years and years longer than the other one. But the 13 does have the highest likelihood of outlasting the 12 Pro Max. So even though this phone has, I guess, a newer chipset and everything and less RAM, because of the chipset, this phone is going to outlast most likely the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the whole entire iPhone 12 series. But because the 12 Pro Max pretty much just came out 2 years ago, Apple supports their phones for a long period of times. So because of that, with something like the 12 Pro Max, you are going to be getting a super long-lasting phone too. Neither one of these phones are going to be, outdated tomorrow. So you're going to be able to get these phones today, and they're going to be supported for a long period of time as well. So in terms of that, I would definitely tell you you're going to be having long-lasting phones from both these, and it's not like one phone is going to completely outlast the other one. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM inside. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you guys can see it. All the apps are clear on the background. iPhone 13 is here. 12 Pro Max is here. Let's get into it. Phone calls. 3, 2, 1. Okay, kind of the same thing. Let's do music, which I do not have here. Or I do. 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 Pro Max was slightly faster there. Very, very interesting stuff already. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's do mail. 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max again is the faster one. Clock. 3, 2, 1. So we are on iOS 16 on the 13, so maybe that's why there's this big of a difference. Let's go and get into news. 3, 2, 1. There's also more RAM on the 12 Pro Max, so we can't just say there's not, internally big differences. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's go and try getting into camera. 3, 2, 1. Okay, pretty much the same thing. Let's go and get and take a photo. I think the 12 Pro Max did get that one a little bit faster, and let's click into the photo. 3, 2, 1. So even on small things like clicking into the photo is going to be a pretty much faster experience on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is crazy. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into their settings app. 3, 2, 1. I mean, even in something like that is going to be faster on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which so far seems to be the case. Let's go get into airplane mode. Forgot we can't get into airplane mode. And I mean, that was a pretty big difference there. Health 321. I think the 12 Pro Max again is the faster one. I didn't know iOS 16 had this big of a difference. Apple TV 321. Again, the 12 Pro Max is the faster one. Hopping out of here. Photos 321. Let's go and hop out of here. One thing that I've been trying to do is getting into here, which again is faster, and clicking the edit button and seeing how much faster it was. So it's kind of the same thing. Let's go and click auto. Let's go and click off auto. Pretty much the same thing, so not that big of a difference there. Let's go and get into something like calendar 321. Okay, kind of the same thing. Let's try their clock application, which I think we already tried, and yeah, it was the same thing pretty much. And that was pretty big. Files 321. Yeah, still seeing bigger differences here. Translate 321. Okay, pretty much the same thing. iTunes Store 321. Okay, two different panels on both. Hopping out of here. We could try getting into this other one, calculator. Same thing. Voice memos. Pretty much the same thing too. So overall, I'll definitely tell you, I think the 12 Pro Max right now is the faster one, which is very interesting. But I don't think that's because of the phone itself. I think it maybe has something to do with software, and I think it will get better over time. So that's something to probably keep in mind. Although the iPhone 13 12 Pro Max is, has more RAM and is still a very fast phone too. So I think that also has a lot to do with it. So I'll definitely say very close, but the 12 Pro Max is probably the winner here. Now let's go and hit on the cameras, which I think is a very, very good thing about both these phones because they're so different. So they both have varying cameras. The iPhone 13 has a dual camera setup, a wide and an ultra-wide lens, while the 12 Pro Max has a wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens inside, which I think is great. They both can do 4K 60 on the back and the front, which is really cool. Now with the 12 Pro Max, this is the older one. So with this thing, you are getting an additional telephoto lens, which I think is really nice. Personally, whenever I get a phone that has, this type of camera layout, I love it. I call it the triple camera threat in a way, because it has everything you'd ever want. You have 12x zoom, and you also have 0.5x zoom, so you can zoom out a lot too. Both these phones have the ultra-wide sensor, which is nice. Unfortunately, the 12 Pro Max is the only one that has that additional telephoto lens, which allows you to zoom in a lot into a photo. Is it a big deal? Not really. I mean, you still have a lot of capability here with standard video mode, portrait mode, still a lot of good stuff here. But when you look at something like the iPhone 13, this is a very good camera for its price and for its size. I mean, this thing, first of all, bigger sensors than the 12 Pro Max, which is really cool. You're also getting really good quality lenses, like I said before. With this thing having the ability of zooming in and zooming out a lot, with the 12 Pro Max, that's awesome. Unfortunately, with the 13, this thing can only zoom out a lot. You can still zoom in a lot. You can do you can do 5x zoom, which is cool. But on the other phones, you can do 10x zoom and 12x zoom, which is a pretty big number. Otherwise, though, this is still a very good camera. You do have cinematic mode, though, which is really cool. It essentially blurs out the subject a little bit more in certain photos and videos. Unfortunately, it's still not that great, and it doesn't do a good job, at least with certain subjects and devices. Hopefully, it'll be improved in the future. But this phone is still very good, and I'll probably say the 13 has more features in the camera, but the 12 Pro Max does have that, additional telephoto lens, which is really nice. So that kind of takes us to the end of the video. And to be honest, I think both these phones are great. I think the 13 is probably the one I would recommend most people to buy, just because it is a smaller phone that more people will probably be more comfortable with. It also has a better chipset. It has a little bit of a better camera, but not better camera setup. The better camera setup is here, but I like cinematic mode. It just needs to be improved. And yeah, I think this one is going to last longer. The battery life on these phones have been really good as well. But the 12 Pro Max is actually surprisingly still pretty good. I mean, it was faster than the 13, which is very weird. It has more RAM than the 13. It does have a bigger battery, but I don't know if that corresponds with the battery life too well with the A14 Bionic chip, which wasn't that great in my opinion. The camera setup on the back is really good too. The build quality is much better, and it's a bigger phone with, a bigger display, which some people may prefer. So the choice is yours, but that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.